Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. My name's Baron Collins Hill. In this week's lesson, I want to have a heart-to-heart about learning by ear and the process of being a musician. So, I've been talking a lot lately and been watching a lot in my own time about Rick Beato, incredible YouTuber and musician and producer who's got a great YouTube channel you should definitely check out. Definitely focused more towards kind of the pop world and, popular music from the 60s on, I would say. And he was doing an incredible interview, which you can find on his YouTube channel, with Chuck Rainey, who's an incredible bass player, session bass player for loads of projects and bands and different recordings. You should check out his Wikipedia article for Chuck Rainey, which is just lists all the people he's played with. Steely Dan, Aretha Franklin, and just like everybody in the jazz world. It's just a huge list of everyone he's played with. Just a legendary session bass player. And he was just talking about his process, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. And he told a story about how his friend, who, isn't a professional musician, just sort of a hobby musician, likes to play bass at a party maybe, just to back up some friends and try to make a good sound. And he was talking about his sort of realizing how his friend was learning was taking an instrument and hearing something and hearing, especially with a bass line, if it was like, something like that, something kind of repetitive and something that sounds natural to your ears. And his friend would just find it on the instrument. He didn't know what notes he was playing. He didn't know anything about intervals or didn't have any formal training in music, but he would just take what I think of as sort of like the beginner or child's mind of learning and say, oh, I'm hearing this. Can I match those pitches on the instrument? Didn't know what the note names of what he was playing, but I was able to come up with, reproducing that sound on a really basic level. And Chuck says this amazing thing where he says, if you were a 2-year-old and there's something you want to do, you would just do it. Now everybody's 40, and so they say, I'll just ask somebody. And that act of asking someone really does, kind of change the way we approach learning from, playing around and, seeing what comes out of our instruments. And I am guilty of this too. I'll sit there on forums all day and figure out, what the best way to do something is, with the best, the right equipment for the job and all this stuff. And really, all of that is superfluous. And the thing you got to do is just sit down and, try to match a sound. So I would do this a lot. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but when I first picked up the instrument, I was introduced to the pizza tapes, which is Jerry Garcia, David Grisman, and Tony Rice sitting around in, I believe, Jerry's home studio and just recording a bunch of kind of classic folk and folk-adjacent songs. And I would just sit there. I didn't know G scale. I didn't know any chords. And I was just listening to this music and trying to find notes that sounded good. And that process, I wasn't really making music at that point. I was just sitting there trying to match notes and try to hit something with the right finger on this fret over here, whatever. I didn't know what the right fret was, but, do something with my left hand that made a good sound, hit the right string with my right hand, made a good sound, and I was happy. And I think that gave me a lot of experience with ear training, because I was constantly sort of saying, does this work? Yeah, that sounds pretty good in that moment. How about this one? No, that one doesn't work so well. I'll try not to do that again. It's a very kind of basic process where you don't come out the other side and say, hey, look, I have this song, I have this new tune, I have whatever it is. But you just it's an act of building your ear and building your musical vocabulary so you can make good sounds at the most basic level. So what I'm going to do is give you the first couple notes of the melody of a classic folk song that almost everybody knows. If you don't know this song, go look it up and you might find, I do know this song. Or if you really don't and it's not familiar, just listen to it a bunch, learn some of the words, try to sing along with it, and then come back and let's jump into what I'm about to do. So the song is You Are My Sunshine, and I'm going to give you the first couple notes of the melody. And then I've done this with a lot of my sort of in-person mandolin students over the years. I'm going to give you the first, 3 or 4 notes, and then the rest of the lesson is going to be you sitting there trying to figure out how the rest of the song goes. The first note is an open D. You don't even need to know that it's an open D. You're gonna hit this string and make this note. Second note is 5th fret on that string. Then open A, next string closest to your feet. 2nd fret on that string. So those 4 notes together. And then you can repeat that last note that you play. So we have open 5, open 2, 2. And those are the first notes of the classic folk song, You Are My Sunshine. You are my sunshine. And the song goes on from there. My only sunshine, you make me happy. And what I want you to do is use those first notes to sort of get you into the key. It doesn't matter what the key is. Doesn't matter what strings names are or anything like that. For the sake of those interested, it's in the key of G. And take those notes and just kind of think about the song if you're already familiar with it. What's next? And so I'm not going to show you what's next. And it's your process and your job to figure out what comes next. Whether it's, and you know, this takes time. So maybe you'll just get a couple notes. Maybe you'll get a couple wrong notes and be like, well, this isn't working. Come back again tomorrow. Try it again. See what you can find. Listen, you know, go back and forth between the sound that you know in your head. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Okay, what does it do next? Is it going down? Is it going up? Ask yourself all of these sort of simple questions and see if you can get your fingers to find the right notes. Now, what I'll say is there's no 100% right way to play this song. There's different things that people do, but you know, if you can get the general shape and sort of your idea of what the song does, that's the most important thing. Because once you have a sort of a version of this song and somebody else plays it and says, hey, you want to play You Are My Sunshine? You say, yeah, I've done that. And then they say, great, I'm going to do it in G. You say, great, that's the key I play it in too. Awesome. And then, you know, you go for it and they have a different note. And that's totally fine. You know, what you have to do when you're in that situation is say, okay, their note is different from what I'm playing. Am I going to match them? And say, okay, my note and their note on top of each other don't really sound great, so I'm just going to go and find what note they're playing so that it sort of cleans up the sound, or you can have a discussion with them like, oh, I think, you know, the way I learned it is this way. And they'll say, oh, wait, actually, yeah, I kind of like that better. Starts a discussion about, you know, how you want to play the tune. There's no right or wrong. It's just different ways of playing the same song. And that is, you know, the ultimate, you know, no experience necessary way to start thinking about playing by ear and sort of matching what's in your head with what's coming out of your fingers. So I'll show you those first 4 notes again. And that's, you are my sunshine. And from there, if you know the song, it's a great practice for your sort of your voice, for thinking about music abstractly, for getting some mechanical things going on in your left hand so you're hitting the right notes. You can then, once you get the notes, you know, do it at a time. So, you are my sunshine. And once you have the whole melody down, then say, okay, can I like set a metronome to it and sort of keep up with the metronome, or tap my foot and keep a constant strum pattern going. You know, time is secondary here. What we're looking for is like a laid back idea of the song and you getting some notes that you feel good about. That's the whole process. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, you know, I really want to distill down to, you know, the most basic function of what learning by ear is. And I don't know the best way to do it, so that's why I'm making these sort of videos lately. So that's it. I want you to take this tune, take those first 4 notes that I showed you, see if you can reconstruct the rest of the melody of this song, and see what happens. Now, what I need you to do is go down into the comments after you've worked on it a little bit, and tell me what you're struggling with, or what worked. Like, hey, actually, that worked out, but or maybe, you know, I'm pretty lost pretty quick, because I don't know all the answers here, and I want to help people, you know, break through those aspects of learning by ear that they're finding difficult. And so I need to know what's difficult in the comments, so leave me a comment, and I will work on figuring out how to teach by ear better. Hope this has been helpful. Lots more lessons at mandolessons.com. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. If you like these kind of videos, you can support me through Patreon or a one-time PayPal donation. Got merch. Lots of links in the description to check out. Lessons are always free, but donations are greatly appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.